Welcome to the first unit of Pre-Cal 40S. We're going to cover polynomials first. In this lesson, we will learn how to long divide polynomials and do synthetic division as well. In this first box, this is explaining the format of polynomials. So P of x is your original polynomial. X minus a is a binomial divisor, so it's usually x minus some number or x plus a number. Q of x is a quotient. So usually what a quotient is your answer after you do long division. And then finally R is your remainder, which is usually a constant, which is just a number. We're going to go ahead and do a long division example using polynomials. So we're going to set it up with x minus 1 on the outside of your long division sign and x squared plus 2x plus 5 in the inside. Now order does matter. You need to have the highest power of the polynomial first, and then you're going to decrease from there to the lowest. Okay, so we're going to start our long division here. So the question that you should ask yourself is, how do I make an x minus 1 into an x squared plus or minus something? And we can do that if we multiply by x minus 1 by x. Okay, and then whatever I'm going to get here, that's going to be x times x minus 1, which will be x squared minus x. And the next step in long division is to subtract it all. So x squared minus x squared is just gone. 2x minus x is also the same thing as 2x plus x is 3x. And then we'll bring the 5 down. And then now we're going to ask yourself, how do I make x minus 1 with a 3x in it? Well, if I multiplied x minus 1 by 3, I'm able to achieve that 3x. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to multiply x minus 1 by 3. So now to get the stuff underneath here, that's 3 times x minus 1 in brackets. So that's 3x minus 3. Again, we're going to subtract according to long division, and make sure you have the brackets there because that negative does reflect through everything inside that bracket. So we have 3x minus 3, which is gone, and then 5 minus 3, which is 5 plus 3 because of the double negative, and that's 8. So our answer to this is x plus 3 with the remainder of 8. And because we couldn't divide it fully with x minus 1, we do still have x minus 1 in the bottom of our denominator. So that is your answer. Now, if we go look back at this p of x, so it's a completely separate question. If we want to rewrite x squared plus 2x plus 5 in terms of this format given to us, this would be x minus 1, which is our x minus a, the q of x, which is our answer, and that's x plus 3 in this case. That was our answer after we divided, and then plus our remainder. Our remainder was 8. So if you wanted to somehow rewrite your polynomial in this format, this is how you would do it. It's not very often that you would do that, but it's just an option in case there is a question that comes up and tells you to rewrite a polynomial in terms of that. I know this next one says try it yourself, but I'm actually going to do this with you, and then you can try B on your own. So the first thing you want to do is actually rearrange by power from the highest power to the lowest power when you're writing it inside your division sign. So you're going to start with 3x squared and then end with negative 6. And then now we're going to do the similar format of before to do your long division. So I want to recreate 3x cubed using x. And we can do this by multiplying x by 3x squared. Then I'll multiply this 3x squared with each term, so with x and with 2. So this becomes 3x cubed, and then 3x squared times 2 is 6x squared. Then we're going to subtract it in brackets, so this will be gone, but we have 2 minus 6, so our coefficient is going to be minus 4, and then x squared remains there. Then we're going to bring the next term down, which is minus x, and then repeat the process. So you want to recreate negative 4x squared using x. So if we multiply this x by negative 4x, then we can achieve that negative 4x squared. So negative 4x times x, and then we'll multiply it by 2 as well. This will give us negative 4x squared, and then negative 4x times 2 is negative 8x. Then we're going to subtract that. So negative 4x squared, and then subtract negative 4x squared, that's just gone. But we have negative x minus 8x. So this double negative becomes a positive 8. So that's really 8 minus 1, which is 7 as our coefficient, and then we're still left with that x. Then we're going to bring the negative 6 down, and then repeat this process one more time. So in order to get 7x, I just need to multiply this x by 7. And then now to get the bottom here, that's 7 times x and 7 times 2. So that's 7x plus 14. Then we'll subtract it, and we'll get a remainder of negative 20. So your answer to this then is 3x squared minus 4x plus 7 minus 20 over x plus 2. And that is your final answer after long division. Now you can try B on your own. It is a fairly hard question. I probably won't ask you something this hard on a test, but if you know how to do this, then you can do the other ones easily. So the first thing you want to do is write out your division sign, and then have x minus 3 on the outside and all of this on the inside, but you need to put a placeholder in there. And if you take a look, we're missing x cubed. So you're going to put in 0x cubed as your placeholder in between negative 4x to the power of 4 and 2x squared. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you the answer afterwards. So just press pause. So you probably ran out of space doing this question. It's quite hefty. But here's the solution to it. So remember to put your placeholder in. And to begin with, you're going to multiply that x by minus 4x cubed to get rid of this negative 4x to the power of 4. And then also multiply that with negative 3. Then subtract them and follow through and follow with the same process. So your final answer is given to you here. It is a lengthy process, so make sure that you're adding and subtracting correctly, because one mistake can really make your answer very different in the end. So make sure you're just checking your work over and over again. Now, you probably hate long division. I get it. It's not the easiest method to use. So you can use synthetic division instead, which is a lot easier. So I'll show you how to do synthetic division, and then you can try it on your own. Most of the time on the provincial exam, on the test, we do emphasize synthetic division more, but I will make you do long division on your quiz and a test, but you don't need to really do it on the final exam. But you still need to know how to do it. Okay, so for synthetic division, you just need to watch what I do, because it is a specific method on how to do it. And we're basically simplifying everything. So we are not going to consider these x's anymore. We're just going to talk about the coefficients of each term in the polynomial. And then we're also going to take the number out of x plus 1. Okay, so I'm going to start off by writing a little box in the corner. And instead of writing x plus 1, I'm going to write negative 1. So this negative 1 is like a 0, because if I were to solve for this, it would be 0, negative 1 plus 1. In other words, you can also think that whatever number putting in here would be the opposite sign of whatever you see. So instead of plus 1, you're just going to put negative 1. The next thing you're going to do is write down the coefficients in order. So we have a 2, a 4, a negative 5, and a negative 6. And yes, order does matter. So from the highest power to the lowest power. And if you're missing a term, you do need to put a placeholder of 0 in there as well. Now I'm going to write a line. And then I'm going to bring down my first number. So whatever number I saw here, this 2 is going to go all the way down here. Now I'm going to multiply this 2 with the negative 1. and write that answer over here. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Then I'm going to combine these numbers vertically. 4 minus 2 is 2. Then I'm going to repeat that process. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Combine negative 5 and negative 2 is negative 7. Multiply negative 7 and negative 1 is positive 7. Combine 7 and negative 6, and that's 1. And believe it or not, we are actually done. We just need to write down the final answer. So these coefficients that you have here, these are your new coefficients for a new polynomial. And we're going to start with the lower, like a power lower than what you started with. So instead of saying x cubed, we're going to start with x squared instead. So this is the coefficients for x squared, so 2x squared. Then your next one is 2x. Then your next one is negative 7. This last number here is your remainder. Okay, and then remember what a remainder is. A remainder is something that we couldn't divide by for x plus 1. So I'm going to leave that at the bottom here. And that is your final answer. So once you divide this polynomial by x plus 1, you get the following. And that's it. It's a lot easier than long division, isn't it? So you can try it yourself. Set it up the same way I did. So instead of doing plus 2, you're going to write minus 2 in the corner. And then you're going to write down all the coefficients and then do the same method. And then once you're ready for the solution, press play. All right, so here's the solution for the try it yourself. We wrote negative 2 in the corner here, and then we wrote down all the coefficients. So negative 3, 2, 3, negative 4, and 5. You bring down the first number as is. Then you multiply the negative 3 with the negative 2, which gives you 6, and you write it here. And then you combine them, which is 8. And repeat the process. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. Combine it with the 3, which is negative 13, and so on. So your final answer is the coefficients are over here at the bottom. And because we started with x to the power 4, instead you're going to start with x to the power 3, so 1 less than what you started with. And then it follows the same pattern. So x to the power 3, then 8 would be for x squared, then 13 would be for x, 22 is your constant, and then the very last number is your remainder. And remember to put it over your divisor. So please check your homework to see what's assigned, and do your homework before the next lesson, which is tomorrow.